Breaking news: Vladimir Putin's houses. The mystery revealed. The mysterious and powerful Vladimir Putin has long captivated audiences with tales of his closely guarded private life. Although his precise residence is shrouded in secrecy, everyone knows that Putin splits his time between multiple important locations. The official residence of the President of Russia is the Kremlin, which is located in Moscow. Nevertheless, it is not Putin's permanent residence but rather a venue for official events and administrative duties. Separating his private life from his official duties is something the Russian leader values. Putin resides in Novogoryovo, a mansion located just outside of Moscow. The public is barred from viewing this expansive estate due to its high level of secrecy and heavy guarding. Inside its walls, Putin holds clandestine meetings and other high-profile events. Putin, on the other hand, has a sanctuary in Sochi. During the 2014 Winter Olympics, this beautiful Black Sea coast city became a global sensation. Putin has a strong connection to the city, so it's no surprise that he lives here. He finds that his vacations and moments of relaxation are set against the picturesque backdrop of Sochi. Although the specifics of Vladimir Putin's everyday life are shrouded in secrecy, it is known that he resides in Novogoryovo, uses the Kremlin for official business, and cherishes his sanctuary in Sochi. All eyes are on the Russian political magnate because he keeps his private life under wraps, leading everyone to wonder what he's up to behind closed doors, according to Reuters' Global News synopsis. Efforts by approximately 200 nations to reach a consensus before the summit concludes on December 12 have been impeded by the fact that the discussions in Dubai have brought to light profound worldwide disagreements regarding the long-term function of fossil fuels. EU ministers deliberate on how to respond to the conflict between Israel and Hamas, a travel ban for Israeli settlers responsible for violence in the West Bank, and a crackdown on Hamas's finances are among the possible next steps being considered by EU foreign ministers on Monday in response to the Middle East crisis. Vladimir Putin seems unstoppable in a presidential election, what with his fingers on every Russian power lever. However, opposition activists smell an opportunity to expose Putin's vulnerabilities. On Friday, Putin announced his candidacy for another 6-year term in office, and with opposition leader Alexei Navalny serving over 30 years in prison and other critics also in prison or exile, he has no serious opponent to challenge him. The Iranian people will triumph over their rulers, according to the Nobel Peace Prize winner in a speech read by her children on Sunday. Nobel Peace Prize winner Narges Mohammadi promised that the Iranian people will triumph over the authoritarianism of a government that has lost legitimacy and popular support. Mohammadi spoke from prison. In a scathing rebuke of Tehran's theocratic leaders, the 51-year-old Mohammadi received the Nobel Peace Prize in October from the Norwegian Nobel Committee for her nonviolent resistance against oppression of women in Iran and the advocacy of human rights for all. A new storm has hit southern Gaza, and Israeli tanks have reached the center of Khan Yunis. On Sunday, Israeli tanks advanced on Khan Yunis, the southern Gaza Strip's main city, in a fresh assault that has claimed the lives of approximately 18,000 Palestinians, according to health officials in Hamas-controlled Gaza. Hamas, the Palestinian militant group, rejected the Israeli assertion that dozens of its members had surrendered, describing it as false and baseless and urging further fighters to follow suit. Hezbollah of Lebanon and Israel's conflict intensifies. Hezbollah fired powerful missiles and explosive drones at Israeli positions on Sunday, while Israeli airstrikes shook numerous towns and villages in South Lebanon, escalating the violence at the border between the two countries. Since the Gaza war broke out 2 months ago, in their worst hostilities since a 2006 conflict, Israel and Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, have been exchanging fire. The border area is where the majority of the violence has occurred. Disputes erupt in the South China Sea as China and the Philippines face trade accusations. Claims in the strategically important South China Sea have been escalating, and on Sunday, the Philippines and China traded accusations after their ships collided near a disputed shoal. Resupply vessels and a Coast Guard ship were rammed by Chinese vessels, according to the Philippine Coast Guard, resulting in serious engine damage to one of the ships. On the other hand, the Chinese Coast Guard claimed that the Philippine vessel deliberately rammed their ship. The Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, Marape, has stated that there will be no security discussions with China, following the resource-rich nation's security agreement with neighboring Australia last week. Prime Minister James Marape of Papua New Guinea stated on Monday that there had been no recent security discussions with China. Papua New Guinea, according to Marape, had been forthright, and there was no conversation on security during his ministerial visit to Beijing this year. In his inaugural address, Argentine President Milei warns of an inevitable economic shock. Javier Milei, a libertarian economist from Argentina, took office on Sunday and, in his inaugural address, warned that the country was facing its worst economic crisis in decades, with inflation approaching 200%, and that the only way out would be a severe and painful fiscal shock. Supporters cheered as he declared, "There is no alternative to a shock adjustment," on the steps of Congress after receiving the presidential baton and sash, despite Milei's predictions that the economy would deteriorate in the near future. There is no money. Trump says he won't testify in New York fraud trial. He was president at the time on Sunday. Former President Donald Trump announced that he would skip his second appearance this week in a New York courtroom, where he was supposed to defend his company's innocence in the case of alleged property valuation fraud that led to favorable financing terms. The former president is facing multiple legal hurdles in his run for the presidency again, including the civil fraud trial that started in October. As COP28 negotiations enter their last stage, fossil fuels continue to be a contentious issue. In the final stage of the two-week climate summit, the president emphasized the importance of negotiators working together to reach a groundbreaking agreement to gradually reduce the world's reliance on fossil fuels. Efforts by approximately 200 nations to reach a consensus before the summit concludes on December 12 have been impeded by the fact that the discussions in Dubai have brought to light profound worldwide disagreements regarding the long-term function of fossil fuels. EU ministers deliberate on how to respond to the conflict between Israel and Hamas on Monday. EU foreign ministers will discuss potential future actions regarding the current Middle East crisis, such as limiting funding to Hamas and banning Israeli settlers accountable for violence in the West Bank. Dmytro Kuleba, the Ukrainian minister, will address future security assistance to Kyiv at a meeting in Brussels with ministers from the 27 member states of the European Union.